Hello there, many thanks for joining us in our Tuesday Business News Report. It's now time to bring you the feature on the show today. We're looking at the aviation sector in Nigeria as well as the lingering fuel scarcity. That's Jet A1 fuel scarcity. Now, airline operators in the country have threatened to shut down operations in 3 days if the price of aviation fuel is not brought down. Now, the call on the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Company Limited to give them a license to import the product in order to avert the shutdown. The chairman of Airpeace, Alan Oyema, made the call at a stakeholders meeting with Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wase on Monday. Now, the meeting, attended by the NNPC Group Managing Director, Mele Kyari, marketers and airline operators in the country, was a follow-up to the earlier meeting held on the scarcity and high price of Jet A1 fuel in the country. Now, Mr. Oyema, who spoke on behalf of the airline operators, stated that aviation fuel marketers are arbitrarily increasing the product's price, which has led to the skyrocketing of the air ticket prices and disruption of flights. He also says that though he was not threatening any further hike in ticket price, an airline ticket may rise as much as 120,000 naira in no distant future. Now, on his own part, the NNPC Group Managing Director said as of present, 19 companies have stock of aviation fuel, but the pricing still remains a contentious issue between the companies and airline operators. He also adds that they have engaged other companies to supply aviation fuel to airlines in order to increase its availability. Well, joining me now in our Lagos studio to discuss this and much more, I have the managing partner of Aglo Aviation Support Services Limited, Tayo Juri. Thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Show this morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, time and time again, airlines have to take several hits in terms of operational cost and efficiency. Now, with the lingering impact of the Jet A1 fuel scarcity, we've heard airline operators say in 3 days' time, if nothing is done, they're going to take a very sharp stance that's causing a shutdown. Now, the conversation around smaller aircraft no longer sustains this cost-cutting measure and helping to solve the situation. But what do you make of the back and forth we've had so far and the need for an immediate resolution, really?
Thank you very much. It's a global phenomenon. Let's establish that as the foundation. And it's the truth. The Russian-Ukraine crisis war is actually what is fueling this. And we know that over time, in the last 14 years, aviation has been open to its prevalent to external shocks. Once there's war, we actually get hit. And even on the normal, within the normal years, we actually have fuel, which is 40% of our operations. So with the price of fuel now and Nigeria not producing and us relying on importation of Jet A1 fuel, we're open to this fragrance of the volatility of the foreign exchange, and that's what's affecting it. Even though the group managing director of NNPC said we have 19
yes,
for suppliers, and we have about 88 million. What we're seeing at the back end is with the 88 million, once they finish this, marketers sell this. The flip side is when they get the money and go to buy in the market, are they able to afford that Jet A1 fuel, which is the fluctuation in the foreign exchange purchase and acquisition. That was at that session, which you rightly mentioned, there was that question that wasn't answered on how are they sourcing their forex. If it's at the foreign CBN forex capped rate, they are assured of that source of forex, which nobody's been able to answer till date.
And one of the highlights we had during the plenary session, the initial investigation into the fuel scarcity, we had the representative of the House of Representatives also had a committee on the investigation saying that, well, and then a party from the NMDPR says that we have about stock to last 34 days. Hence, it doesn't really understand what's this issue around scarcity. Talking about the communication and the back and forth now, and then we also saw the airline operators express shock to this seemingly false reality being painted. On both sides, what do you make of the reality being painted, really?
The reality being painted is the fact that they're working in silos. The government should understand the economic value and the catalyst impact of aviation to the economy. it's been able to, NNPC does know the value, the stock of the Jet A1 fuel. That information could be shared with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority as the regulator. So we ensure, because it's not just about ensuring the stock, it's ensuring the safety and the economic viability of the airlines itself. Don't forget that the airlines, the domestic airlines, at the beginning of the year bought fuel, Jet A1 fuel, at about 160 naira
190
per liter, yeah, between 190 depending on location. Per liter, now to varying between 670 to 700 per liter. So you're able not to meet even your cost of operations, talk less of ensuring safety of the operations. And that was what NCA was able to enforce, that we need to ensure that the safety part is enforced, then the economic viability of these airlines. So it's to ensure that the operators, the marketers, the regulators are all synced with to ensure that the airlines operate seamlessly by providing the sourcing of fuel that's going to ensure that they operate seamlessly.
Mr. Ojuri, now let's also paint one of the biggest realities we have on ground today. Insecurity remains the same. Nothing has changed. Air travel is the safest means of travel, so to speak. Now, as it's Sunday, we had Air Peace and Dana Air passengers stranded for hours, at least 2 hours to say the least. Now, in terms of managing this situation, the communication of intent, issues around frequency changes, delays in flights and all of those, it's really critical that, as you're also celebrating World Consumer Protection Day, it's critical that we also have to manage the lines of communication between the airlines and customers, because for them, they're looking at things from an outsider's point of perspective. They don't necessarily really understand or marry these two sides, government and then airline operators. All they just see are exploitative tendencies at the end of the day. Now, in terms of communication and a buying of trust and understanding of air travelers, how do you think airlines should handle the means of communication today?
I would say this, that the airlines have done a good job, and this is part of why they went to National Assembly. And if you're all over the internet last week, they actually shared that communication of the challenges they're going through, of the reality of their operations and how it would impact them. So what they should do over and beyond this is ensure that various platforms from their internet pages are updated, as well as ensure furnishing the flying public with the information about the change in schedule, because people buy tickets based on a fixed schedule or fixed appointment. So once you furnish that of the passenger or intended passenger on that movement in flight details, that helps the passenger to plan better. Over and beyond that, there's the NCA regulation, customer regulation part 19, which ensures that the passenger is taken care of and the passengers' rights are well taken care of in light of the delay.
And then lastly now, Nigeria is only about the OPEC member country that's trapped in this sort of quagmire of complete dependence on import foreign refineries to help us produce our consumption base. In a worst case scenario now, if we see this 3-day issue elapse, what do you think might be the worst case scenario? Because there's no way we can just have magic crash down of the price of Jet A1 fuel, and then in terms of the availability and the affordability index on a sustainable level. We really need to take this conversation much more seriously. What do you think might play out in the coming days?
We're not able to set up. We've actually setting up a few modular refineries. I'm not sure when that will take off, or if that's taken off to address Jet A1. But what we've seen over the years that has worked, and it's still working to date with the increase of the global fuel prices, is hedging the cost of fuel. So if you've seen domestic airlines come together, if they put money together and choose preferential providers, fuel marketers, and hedge the price, they're able to ensure the supermarkets are able to ensure source of income and source of funds, and ability to store and provide fuel for maybe 6 to 8 months pending for this volatility or for the impact of the war to pass through.
And for those who are looking at ticketing prices also skyrocketing, Alan Oyema has also painted a little bit of a narrative that the barest minimum you might have is 120,000 naira. In just 30 seconds, what do you think might play out as well?
That's going to be higher, and that's the reality, not just for domestic but international flights as well.
Okay, thank you so much for your time on the Breakfast Show this morning, Tayo Jury. We'll definitely keep our fingers crossed and see how things play out in the coming days, whether or not we're going to see a shutdown.
My pleasure.